1985 was an important year for Japanese music because it was an inflection point that saw the rise of Japan's desire to adopt Western musical influence and the next biggest star that would revolutionize this idea, Toshiki Katamatsu. To any city pop enthusiast, it's hard to look back at a time when Toshiki Katamatsu became Toshiki Katamatsu, a Japanese superstar whose work as a multi-instrumentalist and producer became so well known it became less like music and more like the air we breathe. 1985, in my opinion, was Toshiki's most important year as a musician. But a lot of stuff had to happen before we got to this point because 1985 was after he made his debut with Seabreeze in 81, after he worked with Henri in 83 to produce the Timely album, and after his collaboration with Kamasami Kong and the KIKI radio station in 84, encapsulating the Hawaiian lifestyle on a hot summer day. At this point, he released 6 studio albums that he tried to mirror the economic phenomenon that put Japan on the map as a global powerhouse. All these accolades, and he was only in his 4th year as an artist, and what Toshiki Katamatsu never admitted yet desired the most was that he wanted his pop domination to be far from being a foregone conclusion. What kept his music career so active was his watchful eye. He paid close attention to the changing trends of Japanese music and noticed a music genre he could use to elevate the already present economic high Japan was experiencing at the time. During the 1980s, the new wave subgenre was juiced by individuals like Michael Jackson and Madonna, or bands like Flock of Seagulls or Men at Work. Katamatsu was enamored by a lot of these Western bands and felt that the country deserves their own form of musical renaissance. That's why in November of 85, he temporarily moved to New York to release his famous hit single Hatsukoi, the one of many partnerships with executive producer Okamura Tatsuku. He flew him there, and what he came back with was a 7 and 12-inch vinyl containing 2 songs, Snow Lady Fantasy on the B-side and Hatsukoi on the A-side. It's a great song that he wrote himself, a song that sounds just as clean and crisp 40 years later. For Katamatsu, it was an international crossover that rarely coexisted at the time but proved fruitful. He always wanted to take it a step further with his music and was willing to take his style of production overseas and create a single song inspired by the new wave subgenre with aspects of disco, funk, and R&B. The overall challenge in his mind was to transform the current stale pop offerings Japan had at the time to now reflect the economic bubble that was growing there. Well, now in New York, he was now backed by a group of Western producers and musicians considered to be the best at the time. There were 2 things that came out of this collaboration: this legendary picture of Katamatsu under the Brooklyn Bridge and the song itself, Hatsukoi. In order to create a song like Hatsukoi, Katamatsu plays a very minute role, as his recipe for songs are not carried by just his style of writing, production, and charisma as a musician. That certainly plays a huge part, but to get a more dense answer, we need to talk about some of the people he's hired, which will help us understand why this song has so much appeal. The first place to look at is piano. In the first minute of the song, the piano seems to have a dominating presence. Within the first minute, you can hear the usage of the G minor 7 chord that strikes an innate buildup to move your head or tap your feet. The beginning is played by Motown legend Richard T, who just so happened to finish working with Bill Withers the same year. He uses the G minor 7 chord to build the foundation for the rest of the track and brings an intense performance of harmony and rhythm that seem to have perfectly coupled with the voice of city pop megastar Minako Yoshida, in which you can hear her vocals almost surround you in the background. What she presented to Kadomatsu was a enriched sound that playfully jumps from one ear to the next. If you already haven't figured it out, Kadomatsu is famous for these types of powerful introductions. It was a time where the listeners appreciated a whole cast of musicians rather than just one single person to be the center of the spotlight. And as such, music catered to that. Thanks to this, your ears are blessed with this orchestra of instruments that have their own life. Everything is thick and up close when it needs to be. However, if I had to handpick an instrument that stole the show, it would be that iconic slap bass. When Kadomatsu needed a guy to play bass guitar, Tomohiko Aoki was his go-to man. He is by all accounts a legend, still talked about to this day, as he left his mark or fingers on many of Kadomatsu's work. The two were practically bound to the hip, not only as musicians, but best friends. For this particular song, however, he wanted to bring that Western influence. So on one random night, he tuned in to the David Sanborn live show on the radio and heard this. That's Marcus Miller.
I wrote my first piece of music when I was 16 years old. And so you got to change your process, or else you can start writing the same song over and over again, you know?
If you listen to Hatsukoi on good headphones or speakers, you truly witness the birth of Toshiki's signature style of instrumental layering being mixed with the iconic Western sounds the 80s grew to love. The energetic drums and sax, the bouncy yet striking sound of the bass, the instrumentation of Hatsukoi is so immaculate and complex. Just when you thought it can't get any better, the euphoric bridge just leaves you in awe. Hatsukoi takes all these elements and encapsulates a time that favored confident and stylish behavior and rewarded the artists who were daring enough to take pop music to the next level. It effectively sparked Japan's need to revolutionize their music and was the song that propelled Kadomatsu's career in the following years and decades to come. Kadomatsu's music was greater than the sum of its parts. Whether you are a mere enthusiast or someone who was there reminiscing on better times, it still feels new and exciting. It's the sound of Toshiki Kadomatsu. When I listen to this song, I can't help but imagine the amount of effort Kadomatsu did to bring all these legends into the same room and produce musical magic. History was made in those small New York walls, and although many aren't around anymore, what they created when they left those studio doors was a single song meant to last. Thank you so much for watching. I had a lot of fun making this one. I've always wanted to make a city pop video, so hopefully I delivered to you guys. It's almost the end of the year. Very scary stuff there. 2024 went by so fast. Expect one more video from me in 2024 because in 2025, I have a very special project that I'm working on and I want to get that out to you guys in January. I'm very, very excited to share that with you and hopefully I will give you guys a little sneak peek in the next video, all right? Support the channel by subbing. I also have memberships as well and I hope to see you all in the next one. Take care, guys.